I'm Joe Eichley, Extension Weeds Scientist at North Dakota State University. Today I'm in a field in eastern North Dakota that's our Palmer Amaranth research site, and I want to show some treatments in a dry bean trial that we have. So this trial is funded by North Harvest Dry Beans, and we're looking at a systems approach, a layered residual approach, using our dry bean chemistry to try and control Palmer Amaranth in this case. So we know we have Palmer Amaranth within the state of North Dakota in the North Harvest region. We don't have any confirmed Palmer and dry bean fields yet, so we're trying to get ahead of the curve here and find out what will work inevitably when we do have dry bean or Palmer Amaranth in dry bean fields. So we have 12 different treatments in this trial, and the treatments all start with the same base treatment. We had a pre-plant incorporation of 3 pints of Eptam and 2 pints of Sonlan. The whole trial got that incorporation treatment. Then we came back at 2 different timings. We had 6 plots. The first 6 I'm going to show you, we applied at the first trifoliate or V1 dry bean. And then the second set of treatments, the last 6 plots I'll show you, we came back with those same treatments, but this time at V3 dry bean. So third trifoliate, which ended up being about a week later in this case. So some of the things you'll see when we look at plots: in general, the most common escape in this research trial is Palmer Amaranth. However, we do have some redroot pigweed, Powell Amaranth, and a little bit of water hemp. So some other pigweeds in this trial as well. And so part of the reason why we do have all these pigweed escapes in this trial is we do have ALS or group 2 resistance in all of the pigweeds at this site. So what I want to do now is kind of walk you through each of the treatments and talk about some of the things that we're seeing with the different treatments in this trial. So again, remember, everything first got a pre-plant incorporation of Eptam Sonlan. Treatment 1, which is behind me, we had Varisto, which is a premix of Amazamox and Bentazon, applied again at V1 dry bean. So just applying Varisto, we have a couple Palmer Amaranth escapes. We did not control any emerged Palmer with that application, but the Eptam and Sonlan did in general keep the population in check in this trial. So overall, a few escapes, but certainly we did not clean up all the plots. This second treatment here, this we had Varisto again, but now we added in some Outlook into that application. So the Outlook would not control any emerged Palmer. This is to layer on additional residual and try and clean up later emerging Palmer. All in all, it does not look too different from the Varisto alone plot. So what that tells me is we did not have too many additional flushes after that first post-emergence application. In this case, again, with just the Varisto carrying the load post-emergence, we did not control any of those emerged plants. Treatment 3, in this case, rather than Outlook, we had a pint of Dual Magnum applied with that Varisto. So again, nothing that would control the Palmer that was emerged, and we did not get too many additional flushes to see the benefit from that residual, in this case, in this year. So treatments 1 through 3 all look pretty similar. Basically the Eptam and Sonlan carrying the load for controlling most of the Palmer that was controlled in these plots. So treatment 4, now we did add in Reflex. So 3/4 of a pint of Reflex added into this treatment. And so we did not have group 14 resistance in this population. So by applying at V1 dry bean, the Palmer Amaranth that was emerged, escaped that Eptam Sonlan, was still small enough. We did get excellent control with that Formesifin in this application. So pretty clean plot, applying Varisto and Reflex at V1 dry bean, and that's the Reflex carrying the load on controlling post-emergence foliar Palmer in this plot. Treatment 5, here we have Reflex plus Varisto, and we added in that Outlook, again all at V1 dry bean. And so we have some general more weeds in this plot, but what I'm not seeing is Palmer Amaranth. So we do have some velvet leaf and other weeds in this field that this program would not control. But again, making this application of Reflex at V1 dry bean, we were able to control any Palmer Amaranth that escaped that Eptam Sonlan treatment. Okay, treatment 6 is our last application made at V1 dry bean. So this is now Varisto, Reflex, and Dual Magnum all applied at V1 dry bean. So I do see 1, maybe 2 Palmer Amaranth escapes, but otherwise looks pretty good, similar to the last 2 plots that we had, where we had that Reflex at V1 dry bean. So again, when we don't have group 14 resistance, when we came in at V1 dry bean, which was about 3 weeks after planting this year, we got some very good control of Palmer amaranth once we got to dry bean canopy closure. Okay, so to summarize, the first 6 treatments of this trial, which again, all the post-emergence applications were made at V1 dry bean, the main takeaway here is that we can use reflex. We had to be on here at V1 dry bean in order to control the escaped Palmer amaranth, but when we started with a pre-plant incorporation of Eptam and Sonland, came back at V1 dry bean with that reflex, we were able to get very good control, get us to canopy closure with minimal escapes. When we did not have that reflex, we had several more Palmer amaranth escapes in these first 6 treatments. Okay, so the last 6 treatments in this trial are the same, treatments 1 through 6, but now we applied it at V3 dry bean rather than V1. So I'm just going to show you 2 of those treatments. I'm standing in front of treatment 9, which is dual plus Varisto applied at V3 dry bean. It looks honestly the exact same as treatments 7 and 8, which are Varisto by itself, Outlook plus Varisto, and again this one is dual plus Varisto. At V3 dry bean, they look exactly the same as treatments 1 through 3 because we're relying on the Eptam and Sonland to control the Palmer amaranth, and that post-emergence application, relying on Varisto, did not control the Palmer, regardless if it was V1 or V3 timing. Okay, and the last 3 treatments on this trial is where we added in some reflex. So treatment 10 was Varisto and reflex, treatment 11, Varisto, Outlook and reflex, and then treatment 12 is dual reflex and Varisto. And again, this is at V3 dry bean. And these all look very similar as well. And so what we're seeing now is even though we had the reflex in, we have plenty of Palmer amaranth escapes when we made the application at V3 dry bean, which was only 1 week after that V1 application. So the main takeaway we can point to here is that even though we had reflex and we could control Palmer amaranth when we made that application at V1, waiting 1 week was too long in order to get effective control with that reflex application. So just showing the importance of making a timely application on small Palmer amaranth, even when we do have an effective chemistry like reflex. And again, in these last 3 treatments, if we waited too long, then Palmer was too tall, and even though it's not resistant, well, we had plants escape that treatment. Okay, and to summarize the applications made at V3 dry bean in this trial, this year, even though it was only 1 week later than that V1 application, we found that that was generally too late to get effective, complete control of Palmer amaranth in our dry bean crop. So again, just highlighting we can have some control programs overall in this trial that can work, but it does rely on a very timely application of famecifin or reflex to control that Palmer amaranth. So it's a very delicate system, but we can get very good control if we have a good system in place and make very timely applications in dry beans.